what's up? It's been a while since we've talked.
Yeah, man, it's been years probably.
It's been a while.
I'm glad we can meet back
For
up
sure.
at the zoo here.
Yeah. So are you here scouting talent, or what are you doing?
No, I don't think my day is quite as busy as a lot of these guys, but I have a few things today, a couple things tomorrow, and then obviously I'm competing on Sunday in the Fight Pass Invitational thing.
The grappling tournament. See?
Yes, yes. So I'd never been to one of these things before because I'm a British person and we don't grapple, and obviously we don't have that ability, obviously. So the very first time he took me was I think just before COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
And we went to Red Rock, and I was just amazed. I was just amazed by that whole concept. I thought it was brilliant.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's good. It's good. I think it's good for people, for fighters to compete without getting your brains beat in. I think it's a nice compliment. And for me, I'll say this: we always talk about like styles make fights, right? For me, I'm always intrigued by when you take an MMA fighter and you isolate one discipline of the sport and you put them against other MMA fighters. For me, I don't really have a huge interest in grappling grapplers. Like I want to grapple other MMA fighters because that's what I train still to this day. I train every day, but I train in MMA every day.
Yeah.
And I think even on the other side of that, I know Zuffa talked about doing boxing at one point. It seemed to have died down, but that intrigues me too. I want to see the MMA guys box each other. I want to see them grapple each other.
Yeah.
That stuff intrigues me. Maybe I'm weird, but it's fun.
No, it's definitely intriguing, and especially in this years gone by, this sport used to be isolated to one person, one skill. Now that the sport has literally just exploded, and now you have to literally be an absolute diamond in every department. So it is quite a thing to kind of see. But we wanted to kind of move away from that. What are you doing for the 4th? Anything special?
I'll probably just take my kids to a thing. The 4th of July is not a huge deal to me.
Or him either.
Yeah, it's not a big deal for me.
So being a British person, I go to a party. I live obviously in Vegas, but you go to a party and people congratulate me and say, "Hey, happy 4th." And the irony of the whole thing is totally bizarre to me because it's literally celebrating you guys kicking our backsides and throwing us out.
I never would have thought of that, but yeah,
it's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. But anyway,
Talk about just for a second the difference between fighting and now training. You're now cornering people, and everybody always tells me I'd much rather fight than corner because I can't do anything once the fight starts.
Yeah, it's you're gonna make me dive down the rabbit hole, but I feel like with a lot of the fighters, like this is the one thing that these guys need to understand. I've been in the sport for 15 years now. I'm pushing probably 70, 80 fights, pro and amateur. And what these guys and girls need to understand is this will come to an end at some point, right? And I feel like the majority of fighters have some type of drug addiction here. I'm going to call it a drug addiction. And what I mean by that is like there's like a dopamine addiction, right? Because a lot of these fighters have some type of emotional void in their life. Because if not, why would you fight for a living in the first place? I would say 95% of fighters come from broken homes, low-income families, troubled youth, all that stuff. So you fast forward, and I feel like a lot of these fighters identify themselves with the result of their last fight. So if they won, they're a winner. If they lose, they're a loser, right? And it can be heartbreaking to watch because what the problem with that is when you win, when you win, you get this feeling. It's a feeling unlike anything you can explain unless you've been there. You just can't explain it. You know what I mean? It's the highest high and the lowest lows. That's such a cliche thing to say, but it is so true. It's not even funny. So these guys, they get that high. They want that hit again. It wears off. It wears off quick. The longer you do it, the faster it wears off. And, a week goes by, even a month. Let's say 6 months. 6 months go by, and the high is gone. And they want that feeling again. They want that drug addiction again. But if they lose, it's the lowest of the low. Then they identify themselves as a loser, and then you go down it's like a perpetuating cycle of nonsense there. I don't know the whole point I was trying to make with that, but I think you asked me if I like coaching or fighting. So for me, it's a great transition for me to still get that drip, to still get that dopamine. I'm still in the sport. I can still make the walk, and it has to come to an end. I'm 36 years old. I don't know, I'm still on the roster. I'm still in the USADA pool. But if you're saying, hey James, are you actively looking for a fight? The answer is no. Are you saying
But if you get a call, you could be ready tomorrow. I know you could.
Listen, if they I train every day still. If they offer me the right amount of money for the right opponent, I'll do it.
Right.
If it makes, I'm about business. If it makes business sense to me to get back in there and fight again, I will for sure do it.
It's sort of very refreshing to hear a fighter that is that smart, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. What I mean is the fact that you go, this is a business to me. That this
No,
is
most
about,
of us
this
are
is about,
dipshits.
but the thing is, it's that thing of you have to build
Yeah.
for what's next, whether it is a coaching, or I'm going to open a gym, or I'm going to do some business, I'm going to
Yeah.
have real estate, I'm going to put, you've bled for this money and this status. You might as well use it.
You
know?
have to.
Yeah.
Listen, this is professional sports. This is professional athletes in general. Like, I think just first of all, just going into statistics, it's like 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and then you start looking at the statistics of, it's like 78% of professional athletes are broke within 2 years of them,
Yeah.
or I think it's NFL players are
Yeah.
broke within 2 years.
As you're saying that, just to jump in, Happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
I don't know.
You don't know what that is?
No.
So Bobby Bonilla was
Is he the contract guy that got like the crazy contract?
1.1
Yeah.
million
Yes.
a year for till 2035.
Oh my god!
And everybody-
I know this now.
Right, and everybody then is like, you're an idiot. Why would you not take the money up front? And now it's
Who's laughing now?
Happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Who's the is it Carson Palmer? Is it Carson Palmer? I think it's Carson Palmer. He's a quarterback, doesn't even
Right.
start,
Right.
and he's making like, I want to say he's making like $11 million a year, and I think in the last 13 seasons he's started 5 games.
So funny enough, now I don't know if
That's
you're
crazy.
I don't know if you're a soccer fan or a football fan, but I have to say soccer over here. But Gareth Bale, who's a very, very famous British player, he has just signed. He's just left Real Madrid and he's gone to a club in California. But his contract at Real Madrid for the last 3 years was €500,000 a
Oh.
week.
What?
And he never kicked a ball for 3 years because he fell out with the management. But because he's under contract, they said, we want to sell you because you. And he went, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to play golf. And I'm going to go back home and I'm going to play for Wales internationally and I'm going to do this. They're the deals we need.
Those are the deals.
I would
We're in
do
the
it for
wrong-
half.
We're in the wrong spot. Right now,
I would
guys.
absolutely do it for half.
We got to get those deals.
Yeah,
Quarter of it.
for
I'd do
sure.
it for a quarter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's for me, it's easier to coach. I still am a part of it. I'm still very
Right,
into it, and it's fun for me. I enjoy it. It's a great way for me to stay in the sport, be a part of it. Still, I get to do stuff like this, hang
Sure.
out with you guys, and it's a great fit for me. Maybe not for everybody, but for me it is.
I used to always ask the guys back in the day, because I go way, 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 way back, what will it take? What if? As you remember, back in the day, nobody cared about this sport.
No.
Nobody cared if somebody walked by, he's an MMA fighter, who cares? I mean, we're not there yet. I think we're getting there. We're very,
getting there,
very
yeah.
close. I mean,
Yeah.
but talk about, how far this sport has come.
Oh, I mean, it's a mainstream sport. Would it be crazy to say that it's the second largest sport in the world? I mean, behind soccer. I mean, football, soccer, whichever.
Yeah.
I mean, worldwide? What's a bigger sport? And I could be wrong. I mean,
mean-
it's not going to be American football because that's
Right.
only in America.
Right, it's only
Yeah.
American.
I mean, I think you might be right.
Cricket, rugby, something like that.
Something like cricket and rugby, just based on the fact that they're played in, especially
In
cricket
India.
played in India
Right.
and places. But I think you're right, and I also think that it's only when you leave America or North America and you go and see the outreach of the UFC, let's say
Crazy.
in Britain. So you go and Tom Aspinall will headline it's a fight night. It's not even a
Yeah.
pay-per-view.
Right.
It's a fight night.
They're selling out
They will
60,000. I mean,
sell it out.
in a minute.
Yeah.
In a minute, and
And
even like if you look at other organizations are doing it too with lesser known fighters.
yeah.
I mean, they're selling out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 arenas.
Yeah, and everybody is now. I mean, Dana and the team must be clucking for the first Indian fighter. They loved Zhang Weili. The idea of that opens this business up and this sport up to. I mean, Australia. We were talking to Jess the other day about the birth of MMA in Australia and New Zealand now. Look at all these superstars that are
No,
around.
it's crazy.
This is a country 10 years ago that would have laughed at you for doing this, because that's rugby and cricket.
Yep.
That's what they do in Australia. They don't do anything else. But now they have all of these elite fighters.
Yep.
And it's amazing. And so I think you're probably right. I think it probably
it's
is the
second largest sport in the
Yeah.
world. I would venture to say, and I'll even go a step farther. It's one of the most difficult sports to promote because you're not promoting a team, you're promoting an individual.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult to do. Possible for sure, but it's much easier to promote a team. It's much easier to get behind a group of people
Yeah,
than it is
sure.
one person.
Sure.
And I think also as well, I'm a big boxing guy. That was my history. However, boxing, every single day, I lose love for the sport that I love because of the way that it's managed.
Yeah.
You have so many governing bodies. You have so many different networks that say, well, he's not going to fight him. Where
The
here,
big fights don't happen.
We're here, you ain't got a choice.
Yep.
If you're at number 7, you're fighting number 6, and
Yep.
that's the end of the story.
Yep.
And if you want your contract, that's what it is. And that's why I think people love it, because there's no nonsense.
Yeah,
In general, there's no nonsense.
No,
you know?
I get it. I mean, in boxing, the big fights just aren't happening.
Nope.
You know, like we can't see Crawford Spence. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's one we want to see. That looks like that might happen, but that'll be one of the very few that we get to see. You
Yeah.
know, there's just too many fights that don't happen because imagine if you put a scenario up where there's 25 UFCs, and then within the 25 UFCs there's 6 different weight classes, 6 extra weight classes on top of, and it's probably more than that. But it's just like they create different ways to not fight each other.
Yeah.
And it's and then don't get me into the politics behind boxing, because I'm sure it happens in MMA. It would be naive for somebody to think that there's not some type of persuasion and politics behind it in any sport, in anything, right? In anything.
Yeah.
But in boxing, it's almost like they quit giving a shit if you know or not.
He said
You know what I
stuff.
mean?
He said stuff, just so you know.
I said stuff. Yeah, whatever. It's almost like they stop caring if you know or not. It's like, we're going to give this guy this decision. Dude, whenever I watched Canelo versus Triple G 1, the first
Yeah.
I gave every single round in question that I thought was in question. I gave every single round to Canelo because I knew there would be some bias judging there.
Yeah.
I think I still scored, if I remember correctly, I scored it 7 rounds to 5
Right.
for Triple G.
Yeah.
And one judge had Triple G winning, but maybe 1 round. And that
And therein lies the issue. I mean, and this is one thing where judging's concerned. There's a lot going on in this sport now around judging and how
it's a mess
strict you
here
have to
too.
be.
Though.
It is.
And
I'm an MMA judge.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
But the minute but this is a difficult sport to judge.
100%.
It's much more difficult than boxing. But when the integrity starts to waver and wobble, that's when people get annoyed, because we all know that Canelo will. We know. I'm not suggesting for a second that there's any complete corruption, but I'm suggesting there might be a little, because he's just signed a $600 million deal. When he fought Triple G the first time, he'd signed a $600 million deal with DAZN.
DAZN, yep.
To do that.
Yep.
Do you think he's going to lose?
Absolutely not. And listen, it's a business.
Yep.
Canelo always fights in Vegas.
Mhm.
He brings a lot of money to this town. You
Yep.
know what I mean? It's just there's too many people involved that have a financial interest in. And I'm not saying that was fixed. It would be naive to think when you put 7, 8, 9 figures on the table, it would be crazy to think that people aren't going to get involved for their own financial gain. So it is what it is. I guess we should probably stop talking bad about another sport until we fix our own judging issues. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's a mess here too.
I don't know.
I mean, the problem is you have 50 different governing bodies. So for me, if you're not going to fix that, which it's very difficult to fix, I do understand that. But there's a couple of things that I think we could do to at least make the mistakes less. And one is open scoring. I'm not a huge fan of it, but dude, if we're not going to get it right, at least tell the guys. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm for it. I like it.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that it takes the surprise away. I don't like that. But man, if we're not going to get it right, at least tell them they're losing.
And is there an argument going into the 3rd or the 5th round, knowing that you're ahead, that last round you're literally popping a jab out and keeping your distance and staying well away from it all?
Well, Invicta did it, and they found that the stats were no different. Like
okay.
it was actually the opposite.
Right.
It was actually the opposite. If I remember, like I need to do the research before I look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But the open scoring did the reverse effect of what it was, like 2% difference, but did reverse effect what everybody's worried about, like people coasting. You know,
Right.
like they were actually finishing more. So it was interesting.
And I suppose for every there's going to be a moment where you're going to go, listen, guys, it's 2-2.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of round are you going to have then?
Yeah.
So there is a positive.
But dude, if you tell me I'm down 0-2 as the opponent, I'm down 0-2.
Yeah.
I'm
balls to the wall.
Yeah. You can try to run all over, do whatever you got to do. I'm coming for you.
Right,
you know what I mean? I know I'm down.
Right.
This is not a matter of I need to win this round now. This is a matter of I need to finish you.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about it. But for me, the problem with the MMA judging is just the consistency of it. It's like last week, I'm sure you heard about this. They had a big meeting in Vegas where they talked about damage over control and this. Like, hey man, you might want to tell the guy. You might want to tell the guys doing this. And then they had one a year ago. It's like they don't tell the people. And then we go. There was fights literally that week that
a different state that doesn't
that more damage was done. Well, even in Nevada. There was a fight on that UFC card. That meeting happened on Thursday. There was fights on Saturday. And they're saying, hey, we are valuing damage over control greatly. And then you go see a fight where at some point control takes place, you know, and then the control was I thought the damage outweighed the control quite a bit. And it still didn't matter, you know.
Do you think more fighters or retired fighters should judge?
Yeah, absolutely. The problem is what a lot of times, at least in my, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. So what the commission says there is you can't have any affiliation to any gym at all.
Right.
So, okay, so you're telling me, well, if they don't have an affiliation to the gym, then they probably haven't trained.
Right.
I would rather have a partially biased judge that knows what the hell he's talking about, you know. But also, I do think that this is a little. I go back and forth on this. But I think if you scored the fight as a whole, it would change things too. Now that opens up the floodgates for more favoritism and deception and all that stuff. But if people are trying to win rounds, and this is a perfect example. You see a fight where somebody gets 10-8'd or something like that, or just beat up in the first round, and then the next two rounds are close, really close. Nothing really happens. But that the other person won those 2 rounds, you're like, dude, he obviously didn't win the fight.
Yeah.
Didn't win the fight. Or like what happens right now is I tell my guys this. If you are at a split, if you're at 2 rounds that are split, even though you think you edged them out a little bit, I tell my guys right now, 9 times out of 10, they're going to split those rounds. Because the judge doesn't want to be held accountable for being biased.
Yeah.
So they're going to split those rounds. You get one, you get one. Even though one person may have edged those 2 rounds, you're splitting them. And then the third round goes to the person that, you know, takes it.
Yeah.
Just too many things, man. There's too many things going on.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got a lot of good stuff. We want to
talk all day.
We want to send you a care package from 8 Man Strong, so we're going to send you some gear. We just picked up a new sponsor. It's called Right on Trek Foods, which Jimmy doesn't want to try. I think it's outstanding. It's
because it's healthy. My healthy days have gone.
I don't know if it's healthy as much as it's for people that are backpacking. So it's in a bag, and then you put it on a pan, and it's awesome stuff.
I want a bowl of chicken with
you guys send me some.
I will. We'll send you some of that. And we didn't pick yet, so we don't know. So we won't start the official thing till the next guest. But we'd like you also to pick a pair of odds. Don't let Julian see them. Pick a pair of Odd Sock official there, and then we're also send you a box from them as well.
Awesome.
Great seeing you again. Great having you back on the show.
Thank you guys so much.
We'll be right back. This is Knockout Radio, brought to you by 8 Man Strong and Staff Up.